Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the very first night of our fall class called Natural Language Processing. This is fall semester 2025. This class is happening on Zoom. It is an OSync class. And since we are starting out, I am required to go through all the fundamentals, most notably the syllabus and the course expectations and all that stuff. I have a bunch of kind of standard content that we go through, and you guys are all used to this by now. And then we have a bunch of different content that we also get from Intel Corp as we kind of build this. We are going to be meeting every Wednesday night from 5:30 to 7:30 on Zoom. Attending class is required. Just putting that out there. That because that's what you signed up for. My hope for tonight is to get completely through units 0 and 1. At least lecture-wise for Unit 1, and then get us set up to move forward into the following weeks. Once again, the focus of this course, and this stuff will be reiterated in the syllabus, by the way, is a course about natural language processing. Natural language processing is, arguably probably one of the, in combination, I'm going to say with large language models, one of the most important features of generative AI that we now work with. And it was the explosion in these technologies that really made AI take off. Right? Machine learning's been around for a while. Traditional AI concepts have been around for a while, but these are the areas here that we're working with that really exploded over the last few years. So it's kind of going to be a fun area to work into. You can see here from the description and the competencies, the topics we're going to cover. I am going through the process of actively updating and revising this content. This is so basically what I'm telling you. This is in draft mode right now. It doesn't really become final until it goes into our curriculum repository, and that's kind of a process. And thankfully, our institutional effectiveness department here is very cool with me basically vetting the materials as we kind of go through them and figuring out what's right, what's not, and tweaking them to fit Gateway's format. I am going to bring up the syllabus here, and I guess I did not add the link to the syllabus. So if you guys can just bear with me here, I'm going to pull it up. And you can get to it from the other area in the course, but I want to update this entry here so you guys can actually watch me edit the course as we're taking the course. How fun is that? All right, so there it is. And then hopefully when I click on it, it takes us to the syllabus, and thankfully it did. But and I noticed right off the bat a major typo, and I apologize. So I will have to go in and fix that. Because yes, I copied the syllabus from Intro to Machine Learning to recreate this one. So that should say up here, it should say just natural language processing is the name of this course. So I apologize for that. So I'm going to hide it sort of. All right. And then I'm going to zoom in. Right, let's talk about the course that we're here for. This is 156104 natural language processing. We only have one section of this running this semester. Everybody that's here in this section has taken the previous 2 courses in order to be here and has successfully completed that course with a grade of C or better. We will be meeting every Wednesday evening from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Please be mindful of the fact that I will hold office hours in the hour preceding class. And that will be a regular thing because I also do an internship class prior to the office hours. So if you guys ever need extra help, want to come to class early or whatever, feel free to join me early. I should consistently be here by 4:30 every week on Zoom, active. You guys know all my contact info, but just in case you forgot, here it is listed. And email is our primary form of communication here at Gateway. So make sure that you check your student email all the time, load it up on your device, et cetera, et cetera. And I think most of you are pretty good with that. As I indicate here, the description and the competencies are draft mode right now, meaning that they need to be kind of adjusted to make sure they meet gateway standards and be vetted by our curriculum people. We do not have a textbook, just like the previous courses. We're using the internal training materials from Intel Corp, which are really well vetted and put together. There's a plethora of materials, and real frankly, as I've been going through them, I am a little overwhelmed with the depth of them. They're pretty deep stuff that's coming at us. I'm just kind of giving you the heads up. In terms of the computer equipment, if you were able to get by in the machine learning class, that's basically you'll be fine in this class. There are some abilities here with some of these large language models, and I'm just putting it out there because of the fact that most of them are open source, and you can download them and in principle install them on a local computer. And this, I think, this is kind of interesting. You can run your own language models locally on your own machines. And I think this is kind of an interesting thought, right? So if you're not really comfortable with like going to ChatGPT or whatever, just to have the conception that, oh, wow, I could load that up on my own machine. I could talk to my own AI that doesn't talk to the world. That's kind of an interesting thought. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. So I haven't vetted every single piece of software and framework that we're going to use, but mostly we're going to use the same tools we use. So basically, a word processor, probably spreadsheets, probably PowerPoint, right? If you want to look at the slides, we will use Python and all of our AI and ML libraries and our large language models. Now we're going to be adding into the mix and all those typical tools. So we're just going to be going deeper is really what the point is. Here's the competencies really quick. I'm going to just kind of scroll through them kind of slowly. But you'll notice some things that we've learned about before will be mentioned here, and then some new things, right? As I kind of scroll through, when you read some of the things that you've already learned about, isn't it sort of comforting to go, hey, we did talk about the Bayes thing, and we did talk about decision trees, right? Random forests and stuff, so it should start to become a little bit more part of your vocabulary now. And that's one of the big things that we do here as well. We'll be looking at some pretty advanced stuff in this course, and I don't want you guys to get into panic mode at any point, right? We're going to approach it the same way we did the previous two courses. So if you did fine in the previous two courses, there's no reason to worry that you won't do well in this course. The one caution I will give all of you, right, is you will do better in this course if you show up every week and keep up with your work, basically, and I don't want to see you guys getting into the situation where you're falling behind on the work or missing assignments or whatever. The course breakdown, at least right now, as we start on the first day, the point breakdown is basically identical to what we did in the previous course. However, and here's the however, I have not worked through all the materials all the way through the course yet. So some of the stuff at the end, it's still got question marks on it for me, like whether I should include it or not, or if it's too hard, or what point value I'll give it, or if we'll even do it, that kind of thing. So I'm working through those things. So these relative point values, this should be really close to accurate, but it might change a little bit. Where will be the most inaccurate will be at the end of the course, at least right now, the way I'm projecting it. But I think the projection up through midterm is pretty accurate at this point. And we'll take a look at that. You guys know how we do the grading thing here. I do build all my courses on a 100-point scale. So every point you earn is 1% of your grade. That directly transfers to our grading chart here. And your goal, of course, is to get a 74 or higher so that the course counts. And so you can take the computer vision course in the spring semester, basically completing most of your AI coursework for this degree program. We will do quizzes each week, the same way we've been doing them, which is Intel has quizzes already built for us, and I basically work with those and tweak them a little bit and add them to the course. You can take each one twice. They reinforce key concepts. I have noticed that whoever put the quizzes together for this course wasn't quite so meticulous as the people that did it for the previous course. So I might have to go in there and do some edits and stuff. We'll figure that out as we go. That's one of the reasons why it's not published yet, because I was working on it a little bit earlier and I'm like, oh my God, this is a mess. I'm going to work on this first and then I'll publish. Otherwise, the policies for class are as they've been. Basically, get your work in by the due date. Due dates typically will be, like, for example, we're in the first week of class, and we'll be working on Unit 1. So the Unit 1 work won't be due until next week, 2 days after class. That's how we do it. And that really, the point of that always is that you have a chance to work on it. If you have questions, to reach out. We can talk about the assignments next week, and then you still got a couple days to finish it up and get it turned in. When you miss that due date, late penalties kick in. If it's partially complete, turn it in by the due date. I will give you another week with no late penalty. If you miss the due date, then late penalties kick in immediately. Anything more than 2 weeks late, there's a 50% reduction in your score. Nothing will be accepted past the last day of class. That's pretty normal. I do have the coupon in here once again, so if you guys need to use this for any reason, you can use it once. I think you guys are pretty comfortable with that. Incompletes only under certain circumstances. Just be mindful of the fact that you have to basically be an active student in good standing and really have completed, it says here 80% of your coursework before I give you an incomplete. And just be mindful of that, right? And hopefully that will never be a situation you have to be in. Here's my grading policies. Basically, you turn it in correctly, on time, follow all the instructions, you'll get all your points, right? We're going to have a mix of different types of assignments. Some will be coding things, some will be documents, some will be much deeper than that. One of the goals of the class is to actually take one of the things that we create and actually publish it out on the internet, by the way, on an app platform. We'll see if we can do that. Sometimes those app platforms can be a little bit buggy. I've tried them in the past, but we'll see, right? But just by the way, if you think there's an error in your grading or something like that, please notify me as quickly as possible. I can make mistakes or whatever. So, I'm completely open to revising things if I made some sort of mistake. But I do ask that you do kind of do it in a timely fashion and not wait like till the last week and say, hey, you screwed up grading my first week homework, that type of thing. All right. So just make sure that you check on your grades and your scores regularly. Always check your student email regularly. Here's the key dates for the course, folks. So we're starting here on September 3rd, ending on December 10th. I am going to be setting, and I'm just letting you guys know this, and I think I already put this in the calendar. I think I'm going to be setting the due dates for everything at the end of the course to December 12th. So it'll be 2 days after the course ends. And I'm doing that on purpose, right, to give you guys an extra day or two to get your work in. But by noon of 12/10, I plan on posting grades. That's pretty normal for me. But I want to basically give you that time if you need it. If you decide that you need to drop the course with some sort of a refund, you can do that up until the 19th of September. You can withdraw also if you think it's going to be a train wreck before November 18th. The census date, everybody here has already passed the census date. And from my understanding, we now have an attendance tool in Brightspace. So I might take attendance here tonight. We'll see. It doesn't really count anyhow, but I think they want us to do it for other reasons. But if you guys are getting financial aid or anything, that date becomes important because you have to show up by that date in person, on Zoom, or electronically in order to stay active in the course. I have a drop period that follows that. I rarely exercise it, but I'm just letting you guys know. And then midterm grades will post by noon of October 17th. All right, so those are all the key dates. From here, we move on to the calendar, and yes, I copy pasted this from machine learning. When I put that one together, I also didn't know what was going on at the beginning, by the way. And so I just called it, Unit 3 quiz, Unit 3 assignment, for example. And that pattern continues all the way through. So most of the assignments are 4 points. I might adjust those. I'm just letting you know all that up front. These are the anticipated due dates and point values, and possible to change. But generally, the due dates are set for 2 days after the week that we, a week and 2 days after the week that we cover the materials, to give you, in essence, 9 days to complete the work. The only one that's shifted a little bit is the one that happens right after Thanksgiving. So I wanted to give you, I think, till the Sunday, I think I set it for after Thanksgiving, because I know people have stuff they do that, the holidays are happening. And then I got a whole bunch of due dates down here that are all crammed together. And I just want to let you know, these are very likely to change. The project points right now are highly arbitrary. So I'm going to say that anything past kind of like unit 10, unit 11 is highly subject to be changed, right? More than anything else. I'm still figuring it out, but when I do change it, what I hope to do is to update this and republish it, just in case you need it. And I have all these little disclaimers here, all about that. All right, so we're done with the syllabus. Wasn't that nice and fast? And it wasn't like an hour long. The way that I think I set it up here is, this is set up as an assignment as opposed to a discussion board. So you actually have to click on this and then type in, I've received the syllabus and read it, that kind of stuff, and then hit submit to earn your point. I think I put a 1 point value on it. As is normal, I will have video, so that like the video that I'm doing right now will appear here by tomorrow. It'll probably actually be late tomorrow, just be mindful of that. And then I have my little intro message here about natural language processing that you guys can read. Some of you I know already read it. Our Zoom information, which you guys obviously know because you're here. But those that maybe missed the meeting or whatever, there's the Zoom link, the same one we've been using all along. Now, the stuff that is here at the bottom of Unit 0 are a collection of documents that come from Intel Corporation, and they're bundled in with the course materials when they deliver them to us. So, for example, I am going to go through all this stuff here because, guys, I want you to be aware. It's also kind of for my own sake, real frankly, as I teach this for the very first time, to look at these things so that you guys are aware of what it takes to do this stuff. So I'm going to go through these one at a time. And yes, I'm going to look at them right here on screen. Last time I think I posted this, I posted it in the format of, I just took a snapshot of it and dropped the image in. But we have new accessibility standards we're trying to meet here at Gateway where, they prefer that we don't image words and they want us to actually use them as words. So I put it in as a PDF. Probably still needs tweaking. All right, so this is material that comes from August of 2024, so about a year ago when they put this together. And this is what they're recommending for hardware, operating systems and capabilities of your system. So they're looking at some pretty modern processors, right? And you notice they're not listing i5s, they're listing i7s. So they consider i5s to maybe not be good enough. So I'm not saying that it's not. An i5 and an i7 are functionally kind of the same chips. It's really more about the number of cores and the speed of the CPU. What I always tell my students is, because Intel has been using the same, let's say, branding for their processors forever, because basically it's like i3, i5, i7, i9, right? And if you were to buy, like, to get the best chip for like home use, I mean, from Intel, you'd go with an i9 if you really want a high powered chip. But the i7s and the i5s are pretty capable also. It really is which generation chip it is, right? And how many cores it has and the speed. Generally, I'm going to say that if you are running an Intel machine, Intel-based CPU on your Windows machine, my recommendation is you want to be with a 10th gen CPU or higher. The one I'm a little confused by this listing, and I'll tell you why, because um, they're listing something as low as a 7th gen processor. So this would be like 3, 4, 5 years old already. I would bump that up to a 10th gen as a minimum, but they're saying that a 13th gen processor or above is ideal. And I'm just looking at my machine here, and I think mine's a 10th gen. And if you guys aren't sure how to figure that out on your machine, you can go into your task manager and you can actually look at your CPU. So you can see like mine is an i7, and you see these little numbers that follow it. The first two numbers, well, depending on like if you're single digit or double digit or whatever. If you have a, like mine's a 10th gen, so I know that because the first two numbers here are 10. But if this was like 7500, then I know it's a 7th gen processor. And hopefully you guys have something newer than this. This for me is now, I think, about a 4-year-old machine. So I bought it when I bought this. This is pretty high powered, not so much anymore. That's pretty normal. But whenever we do this kind of work, more CPU, more horsepower, more RAM, better. They're also recommending 16 gigs of RAM, and hopefully you guys all have that. Some sort of quality graphics card. Intel embeds graphic processors right on their CPUs, and a lot of laptops operate that way. I would suggest, though, that if you have a discrete graphic card, that is better. So usually, if you're on a gaming system, you typically know what I'm talking about, right? But the Intel-based one is fine as well. They're recommending Windows 10 Pro here. Right now, Windows 10 is just about out of support. So, and I think they might continue the support for a little while, but they really want everybody on Windows 11. So I would say Windows 11 is really what you want. They're also pointing out this version of Linux, and Ubuntu now is at least at version 20, if not 22, by the way. And just so you know, Linux version numbers, the even numbered ones are major releases, odd numbered ones are beta releases. So that's kind of interesting. They also talk about these different types of memory and storage devices. And really what they're trying to tell you is like, you need a souped up machine. You really should have a solid state hard drive on your machine, ideally. If you don't, it still will work. It just will take, everything will take longer. Right, so let's move on to some of the software. These are some of the software packages that we are going to play with. Some of these are libraries, by the way, and or software tools. And Heroku, by the way, is the platform where we will publish our work, provided we can get it to work. And like I said, I've had mixed responses with that. Hugging Face, if you're looking at this one going, that's a really weird library name or whatever, but this is actually one of the biggest natural language or large language models out there, and that's why it's listed here. All right, so that's that document from Intel for software and hardware requirements, what they recommend. Not a super huge concern, frankly. Let's see if we can collapse this here. All right, there we go. All right, then this is a table of contents, and basically, I haven't shared this for the previous courses, but I've been kind of changing my mind on it. This is basically a draft outline of the whole course, including the unit titles, I guess, the descriptions of what we're doing and what the learning outcomes are. And I thought this might be helpful for you guys. It's helpful for me when I'm building stuff, so I have my eyes on the goal, but this is really what I'm teaching to. And this is pretty detailed, as you can see, right? Like what each unit is about, what we'll talk about, and then what you guys will be able to do afterwards, right? And like I said, I'm still vetting all this stuff and trying it all out myself before we get there. And you can see some of the interesting things that we're going to be doing, like building a chat bot, deploying language models, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like we're getting into some real stuff here, folks, and I'm pretty excited for myself and for you guys too, but mostly for you guys. All right, moving on to the book recommendations. When Intel puts this stuff together, They often recommend titles to read, and they have a list here. And I thought there was enough on this list that I didn't want to like have to copy it, repaste it, and all that stuff. But they have a list of recommended books by unit number or online resources here. And some of this stuff is just a link to a website. Sometimes it's a link to a book. But this is a really useful resource because really what they're telling you is where they're getting their materials from and what they're basing it on. And if you want to dive deeper on any topic, right, here are the pathways to getting there, if you wish. As we're kind of working through this course, I'm going to also start to encourage you guys to start using some different AI tools in your work. And you know, I had a kind of an interesting conversation during my internship class today. Oh, that one's sideways. Okay, great. It was right side up on my screen. Okay. All right. So these are all the use cases for the course. And you what, if you want to fix this, what you can do is you can download it, and I'm just demonstrating here. Open the document, and then inside here you should be able to rotate and get it like that. Okay, and then you can see what it actually says. But these are some of the use cases that we're gonna pursue during this course, and I think some of this is kind of interesting when you start to break it down. Now, just let you read the topics all on your own. But like I said, this is some of the more interesting content in AI for sure. All right, so that covers all those auxiliary materials. I think that's all of them. All right, and then we're in unit 1. So that's the completion then of unit 0. So what I would like you guys to do at this point, if you haven't done so already, and I say don't wait, just go ahead and do it. Just come here to the syllabus acknowledgement, click on it, type in I have read the syllabus and I accept or whatever, and submit it, and then just have that task crossed off your list. All right, so this video will end here. So I'm going to stop it right now, and then we'll proceed from there. So this video ends here, folks.